Find the one up.
I'm sorry?
Find the one up.
Yeah, well, you just, you don't know which ones are too cushy, too loose, or enough support.
Yeah, well, they definitely need money.
Yeah. 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 Can see him perfectly.
All right, welcome everyone. I think we're going to go ahead and get started. I want to welcome everyone to the District 4 Elected School Board Candidates Forum. Thank you for coming this evening. My name is Melissa Masick. I am the president of the North Association. I want to thank all the candidates for coming out tonight to talk about this important topic. Tonight's forum is a partnership of 8 community organizations that I'm going to quickly read through. They are Sheffield Neighborhood Association, Brightwood Neighborhood Association, Park West Community Association, Lincoln Central, Old Town Triangle Association, Gold Coast Neighbors, Ranch Triangle, and Mid-North Association. We will be recording tonight's forum, and all the neighborhood associations are going to send it out to their organization. So there's a lot of competing things going on tonight, but they didn't know that we were going to record it and send it out. So yeah, you're welcome. Since this is a new item on the ballot, we did just want to start off quickly and just describe a little bit about the position as listed in the advertisement about the position. So starting January 2025, the Chicago School Board of Education will consist of 21 board members. There we are. The city of Chicago has divided them into 10 districts. We're talking tonight about District 4, and then each of those districts are going to be divided into 2 sub-districts. Each of the 10 districts will be represented by 1 elected board member and by 1 board member who is appointed by the mayor. All the board members will serve a 2-year term, which begins January 5th, 2025. These are non-compensated positions, just so let everyone know. The responsibilities for this role are vast, as CPS has a budget of more than $9 billion, which is used to serve over 325,000 students across 634 schools. Some of the key responsibilities include hiring and evaluating the CEO, establishing the direction, goals, and priorities for the district, approving district policies, approving purchasing decisions, contracts, and intergovernmental agreements, as well as the district's budget and capital improvement plan, approving the school year calendar, school continuous improvement plans, sometimes known as the CIWP, school actions, and school charters and contracts. Also, finally, approving the dismissal of probationary appointed teachers, contract principals, and tenured teachers, and non-probationary educational support personnel. Being a board member is going to require extensive time commitments of more than 25 to 30 hours per month, depending on the different things going on at the time. So that was just a little bit about the position. Since it's new, we wanted to kind of give everyone a little more information about the role. So with that, we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to introduce tonight's moderator. Tonight's forum is moderated by Brian Comer. Brian is a 4-decade and very dedicated resident of our community. As many of you might remember, Brian most recently ran for alderman in the last election cycle, making it to a very tight runoff race. Brian currently serves as the president of Sheffield Neighborhood Association and has been involved with some of our community's largest projects. For example, right now, he's working on a full renovation of Trades Park. And with that, please welcome Brian Cohen.
Thanks for everyone for coming out tonight. It's really nice to see friends from the community. And I have to say, Candace, it's much nicer being on this side of the podium than in your position. But I know how you feel. So you definitely have a sympathetic heart up here with you tonight. Before we get started, I just want to go through some of the rules for the evening. And we've already discussed this with Candace, but we want to share it with the audience. Each candidate will be asked the same questions, and in an order which we decided right before they came out on stage. And they're going to be asked in a rotating fashion, going stage right to stage left. The questions will either be 90-second answers or 15-second answers. But before that, they will have a 90-second opening statement as well as a 90-second closing statement. Upon the expiration of the time limit for a question or statement, the speaking candidate must relinquish the floor. The candidate will be allowed to finish any sentence they've started, but I'll strictly enforce the time limits otherwise. There are two timekeepers sitting right in the front row. When they raise the yellow sign, that's meaning that you have 15 seconds remaining in your answer. When they flash the red sign, that means your time is up and you need to finish your thought, or I will interject. The candidate does not utilize all of their allotted time. Their unused portion cannot be applied to any other purpose or question. We ask that members of the audience treat all candidates as well as other audience members with respect and refrain from applause, boos, jeers, or any other forms of feedback. Audience members will not be permitted to direct any questions to the candidates throughout the evening. Our 8 neighborhood associations reserve the right to ask any audience member who is disruptive to the audience or the candidates to leave the building. Due to the time limit, members of the audience will be asked to, again, refrain all applause until the conclusion of the forum. We have one candidate who is not here at this present time. They will be arriving in the evening and will be slotted into the program at their given position the moment they arrive. We will not go back to any questions already asked or the order of the candidate answers. So with that, let's begin. And I'll start directly to my left. Karen, a 90-second opening.
Behind them.
Oh, okay.
Keep it close to the mouth.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much to the many groups for inviting us here to speak with you tonight. My name is Karen Zepor, and I've been with the council for 46 years. I've been a CPS parent, an LLC member, and active in my community for decades. So how am I different from the other candidates running in this district? Number one, teaching experience. I just retired in CPS for 28 years, and I'm the only candidate who has taught full-time in the last 15 years. During that time, education changed dramatically, from how we think about teaching and learning to mental health needs, especially in couples. So I am a person who brings that current knowledge of the challenges schools face and the needs of teachers and students to be successful in the classroom that is very important to the board in terms of improving student outcomes. Number two, I have a long history of working with parent organizations to make CPS more equitable, not just talking about it, doing the work. For one small example, I worked with a group called Parent Equalizers of Chicago to remove a substandard reading program that was forced on neighborhood schools, but not on magnet schools. As a board member, I will prioritize adequate, equitable funding for all schools so that every child can receive an excellent education. Thank you.
I'm Thomas Day. Thank you so very much to the host, to all of you for being here today, tonight. I am here because I think, like many of you, I recognize that we are at an extraordinary point and face an extraordinary crisis with the Chicago public school system and the city of Chicago. I am an adjunct lecturer at the Harris School of Public Policy at U Chicago. I sub every once in a while over at Southern Elementary, not the long distance from here. I have a child, a 5-year-old, who's a kindergartner at Hawthorne. I'm the co-founder of an organization called Illinois Veterans for Change. We are a political action group supporting Democrats who also serve in the military to run the public. Proud to be joined by Alderman Scott Magstack, Alderman Bill Conway, and former CPS CEO Claypool. What does status quo look like right now at CPS? We have $1 billion in urgent capital repairs with our main building. We are, of course, as you know, confronting a $500 million structural budget deficit. Test scores horrific. What does progress look like? Progress is providing students at CPS fully integrated, fully enrolled, integrated, and modern buildings. That's what my platform is.
Thank you. Carmen?
Thank you. My name is Carmen Fiesa, and I'm running as an independent researcher and educator for the 4th District. I have been in this community for 22 years and have been teaching at the meeting CPS for about 23 years now. I bring to the table my research in education, organization, and leadership, who has worked in the classroom as a high school teacher for 8 years, who has worked at central office and brought an education resolution before the Board of Education to close academic and social emotional gaps in all of our students in Chicago Public Schools. I am a parent to 2 children in Chicago Public Schools. I'm a multi-term elected LSC member, and I continue to serve our local school today. But most importantly, and most proudly, through my research and my doctorate, I am able to teach and coach future CPS teachers. Education is my life's passion, because at the end of the day, if our students are not reaching their full potential in all of our schools, if they are not closing those early literacy gaps in early grades, preschool to 2nd grade, if they are not prepared for algebra before they go to high school, if they not map their path to a career, we have failed in our public schools. I am here as the most independent student-focused candidate.
Thank you very much. Kimberly?
Who here has ever applied to a job before? Raise your hand. Okay. I'm sorry, different this time. I am applying for a job. And in the job description that we heard, I'll tell you a little bit about my experience. I have run $10 billion budgets as an executive. I have built and led teams. I have hired. I've not only been an executive, I've been hired. I have hired and led highly constructive and effective teams. As an adult educator, I lead adults to manage their teams, their strategies, and also in change management. I have led teams and organizations, large and small, through their own cultural transformations and business transformations. And I also sat on large boards and small boards. I am uniquely positioned for this role as an executive, as an adult educator, as a CPS parent, as a community member. I want to apply for this job, and I'm asking for your vote to sit in this role because of my experience, both professionally and personally. And it is an honor to be in this conversation to talk about our amazing public schools and how we can make them better. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Andy?
My name is Andy Davis, and this is for a long time, 40+ years, when I moved into the park. I'm at 710 Central Park High School here, both in elementary. I'm interested in this position because nothing is more important, I believe, than facing the city of Chicago than getting our schools right. And currently, they're not right. Well, the 4th District, which we're running to represent, has great schools, but the reality is 2 out of 3 students in Chicago public schools are not achieving the great level of literacy literacy or numeracy. Okay? And that really needs to be addressed. And the fact is, everyone up here, wants to take the vaccine, nurturing tools so they can achieve academic goals. But the question is, how are we going to pay for it? And today, the real issue I suggest for CPS is, how are we going to manage the finances? It's a disaster that's only about to get worse as we to recognize the mutual responsibility and insist on paying. So that's the question, how do we pay for it? I spent a lot of time in finance and finding creative solutions to problems. I worked in a financial foreign exchange trading business, dealing with markets, FX derivatives, both in the world. I also worked with the Illinois Student Assistance Commission with its student final problems.
Thank you very much, Candace. So this first question will be in 90 seconds, and Thomas will start with you. And also, at any time, if you'd like to repeat the question, I'm happy to do that. There's going to be a 21-person board seated in January. What role do you see yourself playing in this group contact?
So I have really gone above and beyond any candidate in the entire city, to my knowledge, in dealing with the long-term project for social deficit without raising property taxes. It's my firm belief that we are in Chicago among the very most taxed Americans, and we don't need to make that situation worse to raise property taxes yet again to the maximum amount allowed by state law, is to invite even more folks to leave our city. Lost 200,000 people in Chicago since the COVID-19 outbreak. Recognizing that I bring that perspective, and recognizing that the mayor is going to be elected, selecting 11 members of the board and will no doubt have allies elected to the board in other districts. What I think we need to do is change the conversation about what progressive governance of our Chicago public schools and see if there's an area for common ground. Ms. Sacker and I disagree on a whole lot, but I recognize that, and I hope she does as well, that Ms. Sacker and I have the same values, and that we have very similar orientation and ambitions for our kids, if not the same method for how to do that. So can we find common ground in make progress? I hope that we can.
Thank you. Carmen, same question.
Can you repeat that question again?
Certainly. There's going to be a 21-person board seated in our. What role do you see yourself playing in this group contact?
Great, thank you. So as an educator, as a mom, stories are really important. I tell stories. And most importantly, stories need visuals. Our students use visuals to engage with the information we share with them. But a lot of times, sometimes we forget that even as adults, we need this. When we look at policies, these are dense documents. I had an epiphany many years ago when I was at central office. And I was trying to get CEO Huberman at the time to allow this education resolution for interventions for our students. CPS is out of compliance. Months after months of briefings, we were sitting around the table and I said, CEO Huberman, whiteboard with me. Let me sketch this out for you. After a number of long minutes at the board with him, he finally understood what we had been talking to him for months. Sometimes it's not just in the talk, but we have to engage and meet our learners and our parents and our students at their level and ensure that what we're talking about is accessible. That's the one thing that education must do. Everybody that we're going to work with on the board is going to come to us with a different viewpoint and a different perspective. But what's most important is that we understand where everybody is and that we form a common understanding. The goal of the board is student outcomes and performance. Once we've established that, the sky's the limit.
Thank you very much. Kimberly?
It's essentially a year and a half. It's going to go by very quickly. So that's Anne, to what Carmen said, and very specifically for you. One, it really is going to be about
listening and getting as much information as possible because it has been years closed for so long. And realistically, we need to get ready for the next election because I want as much data in your hands as possible. We do need reform at the state level, but the constituents outside of Chicago need to understand what's going on. So the rest of the legislators can vote for the right decisions, right? Because we need to start getting the data to tell the right story that everyone else in Illinois actually needs Chicago Public Schools funded. And Chicago Public Schools is the third to fourth largest school district in this country. We need our seats to advocate at a federal level. So it's working on the board, listening and learning, getting that data, and starting to look at that bigger picture. My one priority is to get children in school. So my number one goal is to get kids to school. That's bringing buses back, getting bike buses, safe passage, adult walking routes. We need to get kids into school now. That is my hyper-local focus. And then the larger focus is listening, learning, getting data to advocate for long-term resource development for public school every child deserves education.
Thank you very much, Andy. Absolutely. There's going to be a 21-person board seated in early January. What role do you see yourself playing in this group contact?
Very important question, and to dive right into it. The reality of the situation we're looking at is the mayor with his advisors from CPU are going to start with 11 seats on this board, rather than 21. The CPU candidates are likely to have 4, 5, or 6 of the electrical. So I'm not CPU. So at best, I might be one of 5 out of 21 that will not be a CPU endorsement. They will have an agenda, and I think my role is to get along, ask questions, to listen, and to try to suggest alternatives. So I think there are 12 the CPU. The first place I went when I decided to run was down to the CPU headquarters, and that was I had a good conversation with them, found some things to disagree on, some things we did agree on, and I think being able to work with the CPU is in fact a simple non.
Thank you very much. Karen?
So I'll be coming to this role as a teacher with experience living together, a lot of people with different ideas. But really, as a teacher, you start before that session, right? So I think that as soon as we're all elected or appointed or whatever happens, that the first thing is to ask for any information we can possibly get that will help us be more prepared at the very beginning. So information about the budget, data about student performances, information about problems that individual schools might be having with their facilities. We have to get that information. We have to be the kind of people who are going to study things in advance, so we can come to this prepared. I think that we're going to have to spend a little bit of time getting to know each other because it's very hard to work together in large groups. They don't know anything about each other, talk to each other pretty well just like before. We'll need to go through some kind of goal-setting process together. Everything can't be goals, do everything at once. You have to start with what are those things we have in common. And then I think that we're going to need to have some committees to work effectively. Just take your 21 people sitting around the table, in the hour, that's like for each person to talk. So structure is going to be more well.
Thank you very much. This next question is for Carmen first, and it's with 90 seconds. Mayor Johnson has indicated a desire to move away from school choice, such as elective enrollment schools, and bolster neighborhood schools. This was recently reinforced in CPS's 5-year strategic plan. Do you share this position? Why or why not?
Yeah, right, the question was that the mayor wants to move away from neighborhood schools, is that correct?
Correct. No, the opposite.
Okay.
Yeah. He wants to move, he has made it clear that he wants to move away from selective enrollment and towards you.
Thank you. This is a very, complex topic, and I know we've been talking about this for months. It's in the papers and, lots of articles. We cannot exclude or think of not keeping the portfolio of schools that we have right now in Chicago Public. All of our students come to us as individuals with disabilities. At any point in their preschool to 12th grade year in our schools, they need this school. But most importantly, what's really stressful for me is this idea that our neighborhood schools, who are the pillars and the centers of all of our neighborhoods in Chicago, need their floors raised. I do believe that all of our schools, where our students are located, deserve to be equitable, equally resourced, funded appropriately, and offering all of our students the best opportunities possible. The selective enrollment, the charters, a lot of the other school structures that we have are options, and there's a myriad of reasons why parents and students will choose those options. But at the end of the day, it's the whole student experience that's most important. When I see students, and I've had students who end up traveling an hour to 2 hours on public transportation, it takes away from their whole school experience to be involved in sports and other activities. Being closer to home is important.
Thank you very much. Kimberly?
I do not agree with, I'm gonna make sure I say this correctly. I do not agree with moving away from one model. I do not agree with moving away from selective enrollment in order to support neighborhood schools. Here's why. It assumes a zero-sum game. It assumes resources are fixed. And that is not true in this world. It is not the job of the board to sit with fixed resources. The job of any board is to grow resources. In no world does any board come in and say, we have everything we need. That is the job of the board, is to grow resources. That is our job. And so if we are going to take away from one to feed another, we are not doing our job. Every school should be a valid choice. But to take from one to make the other good is a failure. We are failing our system. The reason why the system exists the way it does, if you look back at 100 years in Chicago, actually makes sense. It's a bit of scaffolding, but when you look through it, you can go, oh yes. So I'm not going to judge the past. It happened the way it happened because it did. And we are with the system we are now. And what are we going to do with it? We need to innovate it. We need to grow. We are not going to start penalizing schools and taking away resources, which just adds to the toxic culture of CPS. You're going to celebrate our schools, we are going to grow resources, and we are going to make every school a great school. And that is our job as leaders of CPS, is to be proud of our public school system, be proud of the choices our parents are making, make sure that every school is a viable choice. Thank you.
Thank you. Andy?
Before I disagree with the mayor. I absolutely support the continuation of the strong collection of magnets permanent and citywide. I do think that we need to, the schools and neighborhoods need more investment and for schools need to improve. Keeping with good suggestion, I don't think it's a zero sum game. So absolutely support and the excellent schools we have in our district. We're lucky enough, fortunate to have the best collection of public schools in the city. Or for kids,
I can't. Mayor Johnson has indicated a desire to move away from school choice such as selective enrollment schools and bolster neighborhood schools. This was recently reinforced in the CPS's 5-year strategic plan. Do you share this position? Why or why not?
So when we were fighting for the elected school board, our main focus was equity across the system. CPS, I believe, and a lot of neighborhood schools, especially on the south and west side, have been for generations. What we heard from parents, and as we were working on it, was that they wanted well-resourced, high-quality schools in their neighborhood that their children could walk to. And portion of this campaign. So that really does mean prioritizing neighborhood schools to achieve that and have that as a viable option. I don't think that it should be taken from selected enrollment schools. It would be ridiculous to say that the way we're going to achieve equity is to bring down the best schools. That doesn't make any sense at all. So what we need to do is make sure that we allocate resources to those schools who have worked for, decades, so that we can bring those schools up. Most of our students do attend neighborhood schools, and it's really important to make sure that we are adequately serving every single student.
Thank you very much. Ellen?
Here, hi, thanks, I'm sorry, I'm late, I apologize, and it's been 90 seconds to do that. I had an event already on my calendar that's been there for months, so this came up a little bit later, and I'm able to do that, so I apologize for being late, thank you for listening. My name is Ellen Rosenfeld, and I won't let you go now because I'm going to use my time to answer that question. I've got 4 kids through Chicago public schools, both neighborhood and selective enrollment schools. It's not an either or solution, you can do both. I've seen both work really, really well. I do believe that we should raise the bar on all of our schools, the kids feel safe going to, the education is rigorous at the schools, and they're having a good time, the student experience is fun. My reason for choosing to live in Chicago was choice. I knew that I wanted to be able to decide what's best for my kids. I have 4 kids of my own. They all come to the breakfast table with different ideas about how the day should go, different strengths and different weaknesses. Students with IEPs, students that are athletes, students that are musicians. We as parents know our kids best, and we should make the decision about where our kids belong. Arguably, the select public schools and many schools are some of the best in the state, and I would never want to miss that. If I have no time, okay, let's have a little time up. 15 seconds. My name is Ellen Rosenfeld. I'm running for this board because I've always believed that all children are entitled to a high quality, rigorous, fun, public education. I've been a teacher, a parent.
Thank you.
So, in school districts, Michelle Obama, like any other selection enrollment school, should never have their funding squeezed. I completely oppose the mayor on squeezing funding for selective enrollment schools. Now, Michelle Obama is looking up. Having said that, I do agree with the mayor, I do agree with Stacey Davis Gates, that we need to make sure that we are providing everything all parents should expect at all of our neighborhood schools, like really special ed support and so forth. To get there, given the many challenges we have to start making some tough decisions. We have lost 80,000 students in CPS over the last 10 years. As I mentioned earlier, 200,000 residents of Chicago have left since the COVID-19 outbreak. We are going to be continually facing these demographic challenges in Chicago. As many of you know, we have one school that is 94% empty. We have 12 high schools that are 80% important. This is a consequence of political power, in my opinion. We have to make tough decisions to consolidate this in local schools. So under my plan, I call it 5 down, 5 up. We spend the next 5 years making these tough decisions, consolidating over a 48-year period to minimize disruption for families and kids, to consolidate this in local schools. And then in the next 5 years, we issue a $1 billion bond to build 20 new schools that consolidate 60 under-enrolled.
Thank you very much. This next question is also a 90-second response, and we'll start with Kimberly. Obviously, the school board will always be negotiating with the Chicago Teachers Union. What are the aspects of the Chicago Teachers Union's current agenda that you support, and what are the pieces of it that you don't support?
I support a teacher's contract that includes aspects related to salary and healthcare. I know the reason why the Chicago Teachers Union has historically included areas related to infrastructure is because historically the Chicago public school system has not done a lot for schools. Look back at the history of the CTU and CPS, it was the
CTUs back in the 1940s and the 1950s that got kids schools. Right, that like literally built kids schools, that got them out of those bags and into actual classrooms. That was our CTU. That was really strong women who got women full-time jobs with healthcare because they wanted them to work part-time jobs and not to pay for it. That was our CTU. Today, the CTU also works to get the elected board with the hope that we can do this now, that we don't need a teacher's union to do the job of CPS. So I do not believe that a teacher's union right now in this contract period should be adding in things inside the teacher's union contract that has nothing to do with their members' salaries and healthcare. On top of that, there is basically no plan for it, where we're looking at the financials that we are. And,
Thank you. Andy?
I agree with, Cynthia's, contention of the deficit of great education and full resource school. We agree on that. But I disagree with them, because I think the financial plan achieving that is, full of magic thinking and nonsense. And unfortunately, in this world, natural thinking doesn't get you very far. Their actions, if they do what they're suggesting they want to do, will drive to get into insolvency. And I suspect.
Thank you. Karen?
Well, I support the idea of, bargaining for the common good. There were a lot of strikes simply for teachers to get more money. Deserve that. I support the demand to have social worker either in the school. It's really important to have a different case manager and special students. Schools, those things are, I think, I support having a team in schools, so as we are trying to solve problems of this and that, or whatever, that we try to also look at the direction of schools, having more energy efficient, which is that save money in the long run. I support sustainable community schools. I worked on that for a long time. School is the best model for activity we have right now. It includes excellent academics, building for sport and culture, extensive athletic services, and involving the whole community in the school. There I might disagree. I think it's perhaps some of the areas around being schools. Like I don't think that we can bring all these schools right process.
So I was a teacher. I taught on the south side of Chicago and under resource schools, and I also was part of the Chicago Teachers Union. I know what it's like to work in the resource schools. And the thing that I agree with is teacher support. And I have school support so that we don't burn out teachers. So the pipeline for teachers is a long career. Mentoring teachers, so providing them with the help that they need to build a lifetime in the classroom. I agree with more specialized services, more bilingual education services. So we have more bilingual kids just coming in than ever before, and teachers need to be able to teach those. They can't just be thrown in the class. So they need to be able to get that endorsement much easier. Nurses and librarians and preschool, I agree with all that. What I disagree with is you can't be on both sides of the bargaining table. I disagree with CTU's plan to take over the board as well as the other side. I disagree with this financial plan. I disagree with the $300 million high interest loan that will turn our city upside down. You just can't do the financial plan. I think one of the most important things in this report is that kids are in schools every single day. I'm going to build bridges on this board and build coalitions so that we aren't always fighting CTU. We have something to work together. That's the biggest one.
I have already mentioned that I agree with ECU on providing the baseline services at all. The clear, for the last 14 years, the Chicago Teachers Union has been led by, that has harnessed grievance for power for their own financial gain and put the people against one another and divided our city with the bargaining power of teachers. Everybody in this room loves, respects, and admires our teachers. I see. But we are now at a point, understand, that over the last 14 years, we have created a culture of fiscal ruins in Chicago. Since, CTU harnessed the understandable objection to the method in which we closed the 50 schools under Mayor May, to pass aside reasonable measures to constrain spending as reflecting racism and bigotry, all with an objective of harnessing grievance. It's despicable. So what I fundamentally disagree is this method of stoking division when we need unity. We turn the temperature down so we can make some tough decisions to balance our budget with a crisis we have not faced in our life.
Thank you.
Thank you. When I first started teaching in 2001 at Stern High School, we still had an option as teachers to be a part of or not be a part of the Chicago Teachers Union. So I made the tough decision because financially I couldn't afford to live as a young teacher. I was not a part of it. But then through grad school, I started researching more about the changes in our country when it comes to teachers unions, and I kept asking myself, well, where are the students? The teachers union was created to protect and support teachers. But at the end of the day, I always questioned, and where are the students? There's an African saying that said, and how are the children? I have fundamentally disagreed with a lot of the position of the Chicago Teachers Union because I don't think that they hold the children near and dear to their heart. I admire and I applaud teachers every single day, and I lead and I work teachers for Chicago Public because I am so passionate about teachers' education and students. I totally believe and support that our union should ensure that our teachers have salaries and benefits and are highly trained and that we have fully funded and resource-rich schools. But what I don't support is constantly asking for more money without providing us the evidence of their return on investment.
Thank you very much. This next question is also a 90-second answer. What are your top priorities for school district 4? Do they differ from your priorities citywide? And how would you balance those? Andy, will start with you.
District 4 has three schools. Temporary rating, push the mediation rate. So the objective, I think, in for District 4 is don't screw it up. The rest of the city isn't so lucky, and the numbers that I cited earlier, 2 out of 3 students not reading grade level. Yesterday, sometimes for the latest, 2 and 2 project in which they started. And the numbers we currently looking at, in the 9th graders today in CPS, 1/3 of them, the ones that go to college, 1/3 of them will have degrees. So I don't think that's a coincidence that only 1/3 of students are meeting their level curricular goals, and only 1/3 of them graduate from college. 2/3 of them are being left behind. It's something we need to think about and address and how to deal with. I believe great meetings are those critical academic measures we can focus on, and we ought to focus on it. Citywide program that targets 3rd grade.
Yeah.
So as I've gone every school, I do hear a lot of parents really, saying that they want a very strong school that their children can walk to. And it's true that District 4 has many of those schools, and we actually support them. I think that we should not, any district. I think that because we certainly have schools in our district that have students with great needs and schools outside of it. So I would hope that one thing we can do as a board is that we're not supposed to, so we're not solving individual problems in individual schools, but I would like to see us have some kind of advocacy process. Where we could take what we learned from schools about their individual needs. For example, we have public schools that or don't have. That's something a school should have. Physical education is important. Exercise is important. So I would like to see us really take into account individual needs of schools, doing all that we can to every single school has space or should get everything.
Thank you. Alan?
My goals for the district are the exact same as my goals for District 4. And that would be a transparent, stable, accountable district. That's what I want to have a full district leaders through the fire for them. Transparent, accountable, and stable. I believe that's what families across the district want. Whether we're talking District 4 or any other district in Chicago Public Schools. I have worked in family community engagement for the last 6 or 7 or 8 years, whatever it is, and I've heard the voices of the community. And what the communities and families want in Chicago Public Schools is they want to feel welcome in the school. They want to feel their voices are heard. They want to feel like when they walk in the building, they're acknowledged. When they have concerns, the concerns are listened to and are answered. So again, across the district, I want to increase the voice of the community, make sure that parents and caregivers are heard and that they're understood and that their needs are being met, and that we're taking student voice into account. At the table, those are our clients. Those are the people that are on the board, and I want to make sure that we're listening to them across.
Thank you, Thomas.
So I have walked every block of this district. I believe I have passed 10,000 of my walk cards to community residents. And I hear so many stories that are transparently downstream from our budget challenge. Special ed support for my kids, accessibility for handicapped students. And for District 4, as with the other 9 districts, we have buildings that need urgent repair, $3 billion in urgent repair district-wide. The average age nationally of a public school is 40 years old or thereabouts. At 40 years old is crazy. For CPS, 84 years old. At the same time that we are confronting these old buildings that date back sometimes to Wrigley Field, we have a $505 million structural deficit that could reach 700 plus. So how do we do this? How do we solve these budget challenges at the same time make the investments that we need to make in our public school system to provide the kind of facilities that every student should receive and every family should receive, and the support that we legally are obligated to provide? And that is going to require the tough decisions that I have referenced before. Consolidating empty schools. We also need to talk about pension reform at the state level. And that is a mathematical fact.
Thank you. Carmen?
So, as District 4, I've had the privilege of living here my whole adult career. And it's a great neighborhood to live in Lincoln Park. But Lincoln Park, as a neighborhood district, does not exist in isolation of the rest of the city. And I think it's disingenuous of us to think of only our district needs when we don't think of it how it works together for the whole city. There are basic foundational needs that every single school in our district and throughout the city do not have. We listen to students now twice. We participated in forums with students. 4 issues came up that I heard time and time again. Students do not feel safe in their schools and or walking to and from their schools. Students are concerned about the food and the quality of food that they're getting in their schools. Our students are concerned that their gyms, if they even have them, do not have AC. And also, they weren't supporting how to navigate the education. Time and time again, I've heard from parents and students that there is no idea of how the system works to support that. So for example, what are the other options in our city? The goals for the district and the goals for our city, I believe, are the same. Foundational basic needs need to be met.
Thank you. Kimberly?
So I have three main goals that I want to accomplish. Also have like two kind of like a halo effect. One, getting kids to school, getting kids to school. I think it really matters. So I am proud to be endorsed by CPS Parents for buses, but getting kids to school. And typically the burden does fall on the women, but if you are losing your job, getting late to work, because you can't get your kid to school, or you're being told by CPS to take a $20 Uber gift card and put your kindergartner with a 504 and an Uber and send them across the city, it's not gonna work. So we need to get kids to school, and it doesn't have to be a yellow bus, because we live in 2024, and we can come up with better ideas, like buses, walking buses, and adult work, it doesn't matter. They're really innovative ideas that we already have mapped out to get kids to school quickly, safely, and district run. That's number one. Two, procurement. Harley made this about the food. That's actually a contracting issue. We need better procurement. CPS spends over 120% more than retail on what we buy because we don't have a procurement solution. We need to do better contracts, and if you haven't done it before, you don't know how to do it. So corporate experience actually really matters. Number three, access, digital access, and in real life access, and that actually will drive better equity for special education and English as a second language. Strong public schools drive strong economies. It is all connected to each other.
Thank you. So, in a forum like this, we would never be able to cover every single topic with 90 seconds. So, this next stage is going to be a lightning round. We're just going to ask you to raise your hand. First question, are you or any member of your direct family currently or formerly employed by CPS? Formerly or currently? Are you or any of your family currently or formerly a member of the CTU? Yeah. Do you support the current CEO, Pedro Martinez? Do you believe the elected school board member position should be a paid position? Have you been endorsed by the Chicago Teachers Union? If you do not win in November, will you run for the position in 2 years when the entire board will be elected?
That's really hard to say.
Just raise your hand. Or not. Okay. Are you an alum of the Chicago Public School System? I am. Go Have you been or are you now a parent of a student at CPS? Would you vote to approve the $300 million loan that Mayor Johnson wants to make? These next 5 questions will be 90 seconds. And we'll start with Karen again. How do you plan to support students who are diverse learners to ensure they receive appropriate resources and support for their educational and social development?
So first of all, we need every school to have a full-time case manager. I was in a school where our case manager was not full-time, and that meant that either the students that missed out in the classroom missed out on services they were supposed to get because he got told to do case manager duties, or his case manager duties didn't get completely met because he was in the classroom. So that's number one. Number two, we need to have sufficient staffing to meet the needs of special education students, and that's both also, in a lot of cases, paraprofessionals who help individual or small groups of students who need that level of attention. We need better training, in particular for those paraprofessionals, because right now, they basically don't receive any. My school had a large cluster program, so those are students with autism, perhaps with Down syndrome, so more severe disabilities. Sometimes students, were confined to a wheelchair and couldn't move and had to be fed through a tube. The paraprofessionals were just learning on the job, learning how to change adults with prisons they had to use on the job, learning how to work with students with very specialized needs on the job. So I really think that some more substantial training for people in those positions is very important.
Thank you. Ellen?
So I'm gonna go back to again, families and parents. We have to help our families help their students. So one thing I would do for special ed, and I know because I've been through this as a parent, a lot of parents don't know how to advocate for their kids. I run the Parent University, it's a free resource throughout all of Chicago public schools. They're in every single network. I would ensure that we offer more workshops and more classes by the Office of Diverse Learner Student Support and the Office of Teaching Disabilities to help our parents, to help their students. In addition to that, staffing is so important. Our teachers and special ed classrooms need support. It is the hardest job. So we need to make sure that we're offering professional development to our special ed teachers and to those that support students in special ed classes so that they don't burn out, so that they have long careers, so they enjoy their work and they want to come to work and they're not home. We have to support the teachers in those classrooms, and we have to make sure that the parents of the students that need help get the help. And then, of course, we have to make sure that there are more people in the schools that are experts on special ed. So we need case managers, we need social workers. So every parent that asks for that support receives that support.
Thank you. Thomas?
So you asked about the first learners and social and emotional development for first learners. I think, as everybody recognized, have a real urgent challenge with some of our migrant students that have entered the Chicago public school system. Some I heard teachers, even this academic year, more so last academic year, speaking into social in using Google Translate to communicate to migrant students. That's totally unacceptable. I think we all recognize. We urgently need action on this issue. And, to my judgment, it will require long-term more ESL training and language training for teachers, bringing in Spanish-speaking teachers system. It may also require relaxing some certification requirements for teachers that bring those kind of language skills to the table. We also, under the topic of social development, I want to raise the issue of racial integration with CPS. We, of course, were sued by the Department of Justice in 1980 for consent decree for 26 years because 92% at the time, Black students were attending schools that were 90% or more Black. We today have more than 50%, still progress, fine, but more than 50% of Black students attend schools that are 90% or more Black. That is totally unacceptable. So under my plan, when we build a new school, set racial integration as a top priority before any students do.
Carmen?
Thank you. As a student-focused candidate, and someone who started her career, always ensuring that our schools were accessible for all children, I believe to solve this problem, our schools and CPS has to change our teaching mindset to one that is ability-based. By that I mean our schools must fully support inclusion and co-teaching others. It is an atrocity to think that again we're buried in bureaucratic red tape, in an IEP and a 504 process that sometimes and in most times requires a third person or an attorney to explain to a parent how to receive services for their child. Every child that crosses our threshold in a school has unique abilities, and we value those diverse learners or our EL students. These are crucial things that we continue to put on the back burner. Please understand, again, education is about providing everybody high quality, accessible education, and that also makes some changes to our school building.
Thank you. Kimberly?
Introduction, and then I'm gonna have 3 points. To first deal with your we all think we get okay with our public schools having low average test scores because it's a public school, which means they take everybody, which means the kids who don't test well, who are the diverse learners, will go down the average. That is okay. I want you to do 2 things. I'm gonna give you homework. One, read the book Normal Stuff. On the book, it is life changing. 2, I did 2 great interviews that are on YouTube with my Aunt Donna. She is a speech therapist. She's licensed. She works all over Chicagoland. And my friend Amy, who is an amazing person in the CPS system. None of you are a normal learner. You are all diverse learners. Every single person here. So we need, that's 1. Everyone is a diverse learner. 2, we need more funding. And if you haven't raised funding before, then you need to go figure that out before you sit on the Board of Education in Chicago. 3, we need to ask the experts what they need and then help them do it. Because there are very smart people who do this for a living, who have been asking us to help them do it. And get it from money or it's an easy. There are wait lists for the most amazing places. There's going to be more of that. There are scorecards and students who don't do what they need. We need to listen and look at.
Thank you. Andy?
I'm not an educator. Wouldn't my job design the program. It's very important for me both to lead and generally with all our students. I know one area in particular that we're failing to do that today is when not the project we are currently sending roughly a small, but any amount, too many. Students, people who serve students or people I'm not sure if that's students who are out of state, like in New York State, where CPS pays nearly $40 million a year to an unlicensed company that provides highly questionable, potentially dangerous to students here. That's crazy. And other side. And pick this up. Story about why the hell we do it. It's not right. My job would be to evaluate things like that and try to understand the evaluation process. It sounds like the system is something that should be. And ultimately, the CEO is responsible. Doing his job and getting it done. If he's not getting it done, then.
Thank you very much. The next question is a 90-second response. What is your stance on closing and consolidating underattended schools? And how would you address the impact on students and communities while ensuring CPS remains fiscally responsible?
So my stance on closing, consolidating schools is this. Closing schools is a very emotional issue. It takes a lot of empathy to close schools. Schools are part of people's hearts, part of their head, part of their community. So in order to close schools, it has to be a very, very thoughtful process. I was part of the opening at Englewood STEM High School, and it took us about 5 years to do that. It began with true community engagement. That means we started with the community. We didn't come to them with our ideas. We went to them and asked them theirs. We understood the game. We understood that not every kid could cross the street and go to that school. It takes very thoughtful communication. For the next 2 years, there's a moratorium on closing schools. So we get to spend the next 2 years on this board figuring out how we're going to close schools in a way that feels safe and we don't need to use the longer day. I understand that over 100 of our schools have less than 200 students in them. They're very expensive to keep open. We cannot be a have to reflect what's going on in the world, and we can't keep all of these things open. So we have to do the fiscally responsible thing, but we have to do that with emotion and empathy. And understand that the communities that we're doing, we can't just suggest that we, it's not gonna work in some people. So I do understand that. It's on.
Thank you. Tom?
So I am the only candidate I believe in the state of Chicago to acknowledge what is very clear. We consolidate schools. There is one school with 4% enrollment. I understand that this process will be a difficult one. So under my plan, I propose taking the page from the U.S. military. The U.S. military, it needs to close bases. We have what's called the Basic Alignment and Enclosure Commission, correct? That advises Congress on a list of schools that start with and those with military installations that must be consolidated or closed or contracted to close. Under my plan, we do something like that. Advise for an up or down vote, the board on a plan to close disenrolled schools, but in a way that sets two requirements. Number one, you must have a plan on what to do with those schools before a closure takes place. And number two, you must assign students to schools that to maximize racial integration. I will also add this, that this process should take place over 4 to 8 years. Look, we have extraordinary budget challenges. We are wasting to the tune of $700 million of taxpayer funding on CPS. Many of these dollars are going into empty schools. We have to make these tough decisions to balance our budget and not compromise.
Thank you very much.
So, we all remember what happened, 10 years ago, when we actually closed down, large number of schools. My first thought is, I understand the budget, I understand the challenges we have before us. But most importantly, going back to the students, if those under-enrolled schools are not meeting education diploma standards, then I would argue that that is a priority for us to consider it immediate. If those children in those schools are not receiving high quality instruction and able to graduate, then that is my first thought. Second, a lot of the schools that are underutilized or diminished enrollment, I'm wondering what happened with the community and where are those children? Next, if we are, and I understand that we may need to close schools in the future, we must use the data, we must use the research, and we must use the past experiences that we've seen in the neighborhoods in New York City. But most importantly, I want us to think about using those buildings as co-location facilities for other educational needs. For example, those buildings could be housed for some of the parent university sites, some early learning education centers. They could be workforce training sites, and they could also be used as incubators and talk about, can we talk a lot about
Thank you.
innovation? Thank you.
Thank you. Kimberly?
I agree with what Carmen said. Yeah. I want to, and I'm not going to work days when I say this. The school is up to the community, similar to a church, a faith community. So I really want to start separating the building from the school community. And if the work has been done, to what Carmen said, I agree with that. And if it has been decided that the building is not fit for those students, either the community is for 200 students, and the building is made for 1,000. This doesn't work for anyone. Then we go into that space, get out of our, central office board, we go into that space and we say, here are the parameters. So what Carmen was going to say, innovation is your imagination with constraints. So here are the constraints. Here's how much money, here's the time, here's what's happening. And tell the community, here's what we're thinking of doing. Do you want, is there something in the area you want to do? There's X amount of schools that are doing the same thing with. Do you want to co-locate with them? Is there a site nearby? here are some resources you can go to, we've got 6 months, here are some experts, here you go, we're gonna keep meeting, you can figure it out. Now, if you read those in the schoolyard, that's what that community did, and the Board of Education, hard work, we ignore that. But if we get out and we tell them the budget and we tell them the why, adults, believe it or not, are quite smart and will figure it out.
Thank you. Andy?
And now we need to, fit our infrastructure to the reality of our population and demographics is crazy. And was, most recently demonstrated by, taking into account this, demand that the, 7 Cerro charter schools that Cerro system not able to close, her demand that they be reopened immediately at CPS schools. We funded undoubtedly, unending resources that we already don't have. That's crazy, that most people realize. The board realizes that we make the same. But I think there is, it's important that we, view this not just as a logistics issue of, how many warehouses we need to house, how many trucks and pallets. But these are students, they have families, they have communities. And so it makes sense to, work with them closely to have the time frames that, and reasonable, goals for either changing the, enrollment, trajectory or ultimately making the changes that are not involved in I also agree with the fact that the, worthwhile to look at these building construction as opportunities. Investment in infrastructure and community put, house other community uses that are positive for the community.
Thank you. Karen?
So I don't support closing schools. There's a lot of other things that we can find for us. When 50 schools were closed, it didn't say really the money that they spent, it did say, students go to better school. No one would be like, the job, students, away from their families or what is still a wound that in a lot of communities, because over half those schools are still shuttered and not places that are. I want to give a couple of close up schools that look like, oh yeah, close up. And are different. So one side high school is out of 15 students. Close it and have the number strike the board taking resources into which they failed to do for quite some time. And now there are 5 students at the joining school. The school has that up with high school with that. Students, it's a sustainable community school, it's a early college student program, and it's gone from 100 to 275, closer to all the way, but that's in just 2 years. So I do think that with investment, that, I think it's kind of about bringing in some other programs, that, we can get more community buy-in, that those schools more vibrant institutions, with the
Thank you very much.
Next question is also a 90-second response. What specific strategies would you implement to improve academic outcomes across all schools? And how would you measure student success? Tom?
I will turn back to, the need to build modern, integrated, and fully enrolled. So, one thing we know about supporting upward mobility is that we best support upward mobility, that we should facilitate through our public school system with the greater social cohesion between racial and income demographics. We know this through an economist that I teach, actually, Rajat, who pulled income tax data dating back to the 40s and measured them against Facebook friendships. And observed that the people who most who best climbed the income ladder from the 25th percentile to the 75th percentile were the folks who had social relationships, friendships, with folks at the top of the income ladder. We can do this, we can facilitate this kind of situation in Chicago public schools. We have one more thing. We also help our kids heighten their attention span. And that means taking the cell phone out of their hands. We see marked problems with mental health issues and attention span that date back to 2007 when we got the cell phone.
Thank you. In order to increase academic outcomes and measure student success, I am proposing a wraparound education model with a focus on the pre-K to second grade classroom. What I mean by this is that a teacher could not be in charge, solely in charge of the education of those children. What I need to see is I need reading and math specialists, I need counselors, I need social workers, and I need clinicians, or speech language therapists or occupational therapists to work with our teachers in pre-K to second grade classrooms. The reason why I'm asking for this is one, we know financially, brilliant economic professor I had at the University of Illinois, talked a lot about the return on investment of public education. The return on investment in public education diminishes around the fourth or fifth grade. So, in order to close gaps, I need to identify learning skills that the children do not have, which is okay because they come to us as individuals. And then I need to then be able to, with my team, triage and understand if there are learning needs that we need to support and accommodate for, or is it just simply about closing some gaps? Because when we close one gap, we will, students can then springboard, because children are so resilient, they can springboard and they will increase learning over time. The reason why we have to do this is because the research tells us by fourth grade, there's a shift in what happens in learning where children are reading to learn. And I need to make sure they're all ready for that.
Thank you.
Okay, yes, and, okay, really specific, complex question. We do our job, which is to raise resources. We need for full day pre-K. And we need to get more preschools in our schools. And that there's a plan around that, right? There's an asterisk, and this needs to happen. But we need full day preschool 3. And we need more preschool 4 spaces because there is an outsized amount of people who want their children in preschool 4, and there's not enough space for that. And they want them to go to that school and then stay at that school. They're bouncing all over the place. And people want to go to preschool 3 CPS and they can't, it's only 2 hours long. So now you're getting your kid in school, you're getting them with some of the best teachers in Illinois, and you're starting to do early education. Because if you can read, you can do math. Reading is more important than math because math problems are reading problems. We need librarians. We need newspapers and magazines in schools. We need to teach them journalism that is a functional skill of reading. We need to make reading fun and functional. So we need to bring newspapers into school. Even the third graders can have their own newspapers. And magazines, online or offline. Teachers need assistant teachers so they can actually prepare teacher conferences. They can actually do curriculum planning. And with that will drive literacy. The last thing I'll say is, we start budgeting for our prison system by how students perform in 3rd grade, and the prisons get plenty of money. Let's get some of that money back.
Thank you. Andy?
As I mentioned earlier, focus, I would bring this question to 3rd grade reading skills in sports. I mentioned that at that 3rd grade level, where it's over learning to read, to read to learn, as they have. 5th and 6th don't go well. And that's the components that you can't read later. So I think the focus on 3rd grade reading is one system-wide focus of enormous intensity. How do you get, well, early childhood is, I think, reading for have to invest in early childhood. We all have, some of us have a favorite, some of us have to change activity. also want to know Alfred. So high rates of return here. Support that. The way I know what we're stuck.
Thank you very much. Karen?
So this is definitely not the second question, but I'll do the second. A recent article in the Atlantic talks about how students, including students from elite high schools, are going to college and they are not able to do, they don't know how to go about the reading. And it's because they no longer read books in middle school and high school. I found that article incredibly frightening, but maybe not so surprising, because my high school students, and I taught, it's not reading, but my high school students told me over and over again, didn't do very much reading, because it was a sign, and got most of their information from watching videos on YouTube. So we need to do something about this situation. And I'm just going to say, my colleagues and I, when we taught middle school, we had an award-winning literacy program, and our students read books, multiple genres, all different types of texts that related to how they were studying and connected to their lives, and they loved reading, and their scores skyrocketed. Reading is like a lot of other things, playing or doing sports. You have to do a lot of it to get better at it. And in order to do a lot of it, you have to engage in school. And I think that a lot of the reason why our students are no longer reading is that we are not making reading nearly as engaging as it should be for our students.
Thank you. Ellen?
So when it comes to performance, we've got to get the kids to school, and that's the first most important thing. We need attendance every single day of the school year. And the only way we're gonna get the kids to school is if we help with the transportation. We also have to make sure the schools are safe. Safe from physical harm, safe for students to be who they are, and safe for teachers to teach whatever it is they want to teach. Once those things happen, then we can start talking about the nitty-gritty. I got my master's in education from the University of Illinois at Chicago, and I had a teacher tell us that the most important part of teaching is pitching it where they can hit it. So how are we going to do that? We have to individualize instruction in the classroom, which goes back to budgeting for more supports for teachers in these classes. If you've got 31 kids in the class, and you're one teacher, it's almost impossible to be able to handle the behavior problems and the differentiating levels of instruction. We need to have more bodies that are trained to be in the classroom, they're supported in the classroom, so teachers can break out into small groups, and teachers can get to work with them. More professional development for staff, so that they can learn the most current educational models. Pre-K is really important. CPS recently is rolling out a program for pre-K staying in that same school for kindergarten. I think the continuity of education becomes on it. Measuring student success, that's easy. If enrollment increases and attendance increases, then we know it's.
Thank you so much.
Next question is also 90-second response.
Everyone wants great education for our students. How would you propose to sustainably fund that great education for our entire school system with specific examples? And how does it differ from what we're doing currently?
Carmen.
The first thing that, and that we've heard about it a lot over the past few weeks, and I'm meeting with other candidates. We don't know where the money is going, and we don't have an audit of our budget. I'll never know how to properly fund and also identify where misallocations, lost dollars are. We know that there was, we have a researcher, I had a friend, at Northwestern who has identified a percentage of waste that we identified in CPS's budget, some 300 pages. We know that there's bloat in Chicago Public Schools, and so I am asking for an independent audit of our budget, because I assure you that there are efficiencies and there's plenty of money in that budget that comes from all of our tax dollars that can adequately fund and resource all of our schools. Foundationally, we know that there are some very basics that our schools are not getting,
And that is detrimental to the working conditions of teachers, it's detrimental to the learning condition of teachers. But most importantly, it's not always about asking for more, because if you don't know what you don't have, you can't just keep asking for more and more and more. But I will never withhold resources from students. And I think as a board, we will have plenty of financial experts guiding us along the way as we need to make some tough funding decisions. But at the end of the day, I still need to know where all the money is and let me figure it out.
Thank you. Kimberly?
I'll be answered in 90 seconds. Okay, I did a blog post tonight, I wrote this out in 6 points, so I'll take a shot. 1, forensic financial audit. 2, join really good procurement consortiums. You don't have to figure this out, they exist for a reason, and negotiate like at super scale with the state of Illinois, other organizations, it's actually a data consortium. And you don't even have to do on data and tech, you can join there, others want to do this. Our contracts are not written well, there's an enforcement mechanism, they don't have any to our contracts. We're losing money, we're letting other people lose money on us, we need to fix our contracts up. We get more money from the state. We don't get money by yelling at people. The people that would give us more money get elected by people who don't live in Chicago. Let's help them give us, we need to help them understand how to vote for us. The reality is the state of Illinois needs us to succeed because we actually pay for the rest of the state of Illinois schools. Now that's a story we need to tell. That's going to take work. But we fund other city schools. So we help other people understand that they need us to succeed. If we stop paying taxes because you all move, we're all going to have a housing issue. And we do need the federal government to kick in. That DOD thing, they have a few dollars. We sit on the largest board in the country. That is federal level advocacy. We need people who understand how to work at the federal level.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I know that we're working for a lot of in Chicago. But I'm also, how much we can brought back in those streets. So I don't know what we're stopping all of that. So I do think the biggest, easiest solution is found is the fact that although long run, all school districts can say, pay on teacher pension. So it's not fair, it's not equitable. Other school districts in the state send the teacher to the Springfield, and we get 20 cents on the dollar. Neighbor or Richard or all send pensions to Springfield or Springfield Place. This summer, that will be the third part negotiation. How much does it cost? This year, $662 million, which Chicago is paying for teacher pensions. Once that's done, figuring out where to send money, and how to fund all the wonderful ideas that candidates that are come up with, it won't be hard.
Thank you. Karen?
So I agree with what other people have said about starting with an audit. Find ways to do it what we can do. I think at the level of the city, I'm encouraged by what I've heard about using tech monies for covering some of the but I also think that we need to move on $1.1 billion it's not right to say, oh, no, we'll just pay over things. So I think that we Chicago numbers, but We also need to remind us that 84% in Illinois that are underfunded. And both of the state and state your private budget fundamental documentation, that's the priorities of the state. What would be the high? At the federal level, Disability Education Act, would pass it 40%, 13%, so we should work with our legislature.
Thank you.
So I'm the only candidate that is interested that was endorsed by the Chicago Tribune as well as state treasurer Michael Fair. They both know that I'm a fiscally responsible person, and I believe that they understood my fiscal responsibility. Like everybody up here, really understand that money for the board of ed, and independent auditor is the place to begin. How do you know what we have? How do you know what we spend? How do you know where we're floating? Whether it's in central office, whether it be in procurement, why are so many of our schools under-resourced and we have a $10 billion budget? The only way we're gonna figure that out is through an audit. We're looking at what we spend, what we have, and who's not living up to what they promised to do. In addition to that, we have to build bridges with our state legislators and senators. We can't go down there and demand, you owe us, blah, blah, blah. We have to go down there with a plan. One piece of work to understand what we have and what we need, we go down and speak with a plan and we can ask. But until we have an exact plan and we understand where we're at, we have no business doing anything. So I want to start by understanding the system.
So we have all the resources we need. We have $10 billion budget. It was half that size 10 years ago. If it traced inflation, it would be about 8.5 billion. What did I just tell you? We are spending hundreds of millions of dollars with CPS through your maxed out property taxes that we probably don't need to spend. So I mentioned the tough choices about consolidating different old schools. I don't need to repeat myself. Grading the TIF funds, more fees, more resources from Springfield and audit. I certainly agree with you for an audit. These policy prescriptions are not going to sustainably solve the budget challenge we have and close the 505 structural deficit, $505 million deficit. We, since the Supreme Court, Illinois Supreme Court struck down the pension reform bill that was supported by the Springfield Democrats on a bipartisan basis, struck down the Supreme Court, the pension reform bill, have just lived with our pension. $1 out of every $4 we send to Springfield goes to pension. Let's make something clear. The public sector works for us, not the other way around. I'm no longer Republican for saying what Springfield needs to do is to do what Governor Raimondo did in Rhode Island, what they did in Arizona, and reform our pension.
Thank you. Before we move to the next 90-second question, a number of you just mentioned it. With the and this will be a show of hands. With the upcoming hybrid board, what do you think the reality of getting an audit would be? Would you believe it's possible? Is it possible in the hybrid boards? Okay. No, it's a very good. Okay, great. Do you believe it could happen with the hybrid board? Do you think it could happen with the hybrid board? Okay. That's a quick. Right. That's right. We're just asking with the hybrid. So, okay. Next question. And we'll start with Kimberly. This part of the school district 4 has always been known for having a desire for an ultra-independent voice. With that in mind, who are your biggest financial contributors, not including yourself or direct family members? And what makes you that independent voice that we so crave in this neighborhood?
that first part of the question?
Sure. So this part of the District 4, or District 4, has always been known for having independent thinkers and independent representatives. With that in mind, who are your biggest financial contributors outside of your direct family and yourself? And what makes you that independent voice that our community deserves?
My friend Mike, $1,000, because we, work together on professionally, he's amazing. I'm independent because I am not endorsed by any, political opinion or, and like a political official is not independent. You're looking I'm a free journalist. I'm a executive. I'm a startup mom. Two little kids. We're in really large organizations. Executive at GE. I've spent my entire career the only woman in boardrooms. I see CPS everything. I was a pretty Chicago journalist. I know. And I send my two little kids to school. So my girls, I'm a functional school parent. And I have to figure it out. How to get the kids to school. How to do the groceries. How to pay the bills. And I love my corporate job. And now I'm a part-time dog walker. And I'm an adjunct professor in nights and weekends. And I'm doing this on the side. And I don't have a lot of savings, and we are figuring it out. Because that's what Chicagoans do.
Thank
That's
you.
independence.
Andy?
This is no contribution to impact the cause. All the contributions, individual ones, from friends and family, only two in excess of $1,000. One from a friend who's a special investment bank. The other one is a lady I gave her the first job out of college, and she's gone on to great CEO of California. I'm independent because I don't.
Thank you. Karen?
So my biggest contributor is to you. I received quite a bit of from the roughly 20 organizations who support. They support me because they're engaged in the kind of equity-based work that I'm engaged in. And I'm someone who has track record. So that when we put out questionnaire, it's not just something, it's something that I received also some money from elected officials. I've been doing this work for 46 years. I'm a member of North Financial Professors. We work with community organizations and parent organizations around the city. I've worked with many groups that are active in District 4. And so those are my connections. The fact that is because they see that I'm a person who has done that work. I don't feel that I therefore owe them allegiance on everything, but obviously, we agree on the things that that's what they support.
Thank you. Ellen?
Yeah, I understand proudly being independent. I have over 300 people that donated to my campaign. From $5, some much more than that. I believe my largest contributor is a friend of ours that is a lawyer that, but I'm pretty sure that's my largest. Ellen for Education has built a broad, diverse coalition of supporters that believe what I believe, that every child is entitled to a public, safe, joyous education. That doesn't mean just because Cindy and Lucy endorsed me here in this board, doesn't mean that I owe them anything. That's not why they endorsed me. They endorsed me because they believe in me. They endorsed me because they want my vote on the Board of Education, because they know that for 30 years I've been an advocate in Chicago Public Schools. I've advocated for families, I've advocated for teachers, and I've advocated for my students in this
who's endorsed me. It doesn't mean that because they endorse me, then, okay, my mind, it doesn't work like that, that's not the way that it works here. They believe in me, and I'm excited to be on this board of education, and I really, really hope to vote.
Thank you. Tom?
So my largest contributor, VoteVest is the political action committee in Washington that supports myself, who runs for public office. I also have a contribution from business contacts and some money that I received from working with Ragstack and Conway and former. How am I independent? You know, I have had the pleasure of receiving about $5,000 from folks I have never had the pleasure of meeting before they heard my message. Why was this? Because I have stood up and from the onset of this campaign said we can't continue to support disenrolled schools that are so empty that there's only 4% utilization rate. All of that should be logical, but isn't necessarily finding its way into the conversation among the largest officials in Chicago. I have also, as in front of you, said we need to reduce pension. That has been an issue that has been taken off the table over the last 10 years, very strangely, in my opinion, that we continue to funnel more money to UIC professors that are making $500,000 a five pensions, that are, you know, public officials who have 2, 3, 6 overlapping public sector pensions. I have said we need to reform that. I think that is quite an exhibition of political corruption.
Thank you. Carmen?
Thank you. When to join in on this race. I joined in because I thought we were talking about education. I didn't join this because it was going to be a political endeavor. When somebody's political, it requires donation and it requires fundraising. And I kept thinking to myself, why the teachers, why the somebody who's going to write policy need donation? So I got school kind of quickly. This is a nonpartisan event that we're participating in. We are running because we want to affect change and we want our students to be economic writers in our city. I am honored and humbled, incredibly, for the neighbors and the CPS parents who have donated to that campaign. The largest campaign contribution overnight I got for $1,000 from the CPS parents. I did not enter this to fundraise or raise dollars because I thought the credentials of my university, I thought the credentials of having a doctorate in education, in organization and leadership, I thought the credential of being a teacher and a mom, I thought that was going to be what the school board, what the board of education was. I am incredibly honored and independent. I have done everything on my own, and I pride myself, probably my Catholic and immigrant background. I am an individual and I am only independent.
Thank you. Okay, so that's it for the 90-second question. Now we're gonna get, the rest of these are gonna be 15-second responses. Okay. So, and we'll start with Andy. Do you believe that charter schools have a place in the educational system mix of Chicago?
Yes.
Karen?
I don't support charter schools and take money away from neighborhood schools, but I would not close any of the existing charter schools because I want to know what consequences open schools have.
Yeah, charter school kids are CPS, their communities have been established, they exist in.
Support the old charters, I would define them not to put it stuff.
I support charter schools because there's a reason why they're here. There's a reason why our families and there's a reason why our students have to choose that. And it's hard to say that
I support them. I am not going to speak out for, but I do have questions.
Thank you. Kimberly?
Yes, actually, I agree with everything that they said.
Okay, perfect. The next one, we're gonna come back down to Karen. Do you, 15 seconds, do you see a need for more school security measures? Give one example would be.
I support the whole school safety plan, direction that we're moving in. I think ensuring that schools have, some type of restorative justice practitioner who will provide, resources for teachers and students, will do that.
Thank you.
Yes, I also am a big fan of the whole school safety plan. I do believe that schools need to be safer for students to be themselves, for teachers to teach what it is they want to teach, and for families to be able to safety so they will.
I also agree with the whole school safety plan. I think we need to look at the social and emotional well-being of our kids by banning cell phones in our schools during school hours. And I think we should follow the example of Ron DeSantis on this issue only, in banning social media for kids under 16.
Thank you. Carmen?
Yes, we need, more safety security measures in our schools, but most importantly, I need to ensure that our teachers are equipped to make quick decisions. I need to make sure that we get trauma-informed care in our schools, and I need to ensure that the principals also have a quick lifeline.
Kimberly?
I agree with everything, and we need to work at the federal level for, gun safety reform, and we need to actually have gun areas around our schools, guns and shots fired near the school, remote lockdowns, and that's too much fun for our kids. Anywhere near a school is too close.
Thank you. Andy?
The board should set broad, safety, goals, but I think the actual implementation is best done with the maximum number of towards figuring out LSC principles.
Next question, we'll start with Alan, 15 seconds. Do you support year-round school?
So I think there are some communities where year-round schools would probably be beneficial. I don't support it as a policy for Chapel Hill.
I can't go that far, but I can. Some programs, I love.
Yes, I support your own schools as an option, if students and families want it, I think it's good to offer.
Yes, major answers. I don't think people understand how much the schedule changes when that happens. Like, it's totally differently, and that's gonna be a world of difference. So like, not next year though.
I don't see, I'm unaware of the proven benefits of, benefits of it would, justify the uncalculated norms. Support some sort of,
I've actually heard a lot of things that schools were, very difficult. The most at a full scale is that it's very challenging. When you have children in different schools, if they're not all on the same schedule, then you have vacations at different times.
Thank you. So those of us in this community realize, and as you guys have discussed tonight, we're so fortunate that we're school in our neighborhood. Can you provide one example of how you would address the digital divide throughout the school system?
Well, there are federal programs under the Biden administration's infrastructure bill to support expansion of digital infrastructure. It's largely oriented toward rural communities, but also premium support for lower income folks to get broadband access in their homes. I think for opening up those channels in federal funds.
Brian, can you repeat that question?
Sure. So as we've discussed tonight, so we know as a community that express, we are very fortunate with the schools that we have in our community. So we know that we have to more things.
how would you address the digital divide that exists in our?
We don't need to get enough research to tell us that bringing in more technology into our schools has benefited us. I know, Thomas has talked about this, we had over relied on technology, and I know what it was like being teaching teachers during COVID. We've done a disservice with the digital aspect. Yes, also, not mobile friendly, and the majority of people that don't have needs only have phones. And they're not multilingual. And there are companies that in New York and Texas, that their only thing are mobile friendly websites in multiple languages.
So far tonight, I think we've heard a lot of agreements with this, too much content on cell phones and not enough time reading books. I personally am not a big fan of take home homework. I think we gotta do other things, we gotta go outside and like that. And so, while I would certainly support digital in schools, we don't need it outside of it. Karen?
I think that, you know, during COVID, there was a point that a lot of things were
If you ever do just the fact that they lost $20 million worth of computers this year. So that's first and foremost, and then of course, I am a big supporter of install.
Thank you so much. So we are in the home stretch. This is the last question. It's 15 seconds. Carmen, we're going to start with you. If you were a member of the school board in October 2024, would you have resigned as the former board did earlier this month?
Absolutely not. I would never resign and step away from my students.
No. And I would have gone to the city council meeting too.
I would not have done, I would also check it.
Well, I'm not exactly sure. I don't know why.
So I would never resign from the board, and I would never create them a vote either. I mean, it's the win.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Well, thank you. So as we started the evening with opening statements, we're going to finish with closing statements.
And as we started on this end with Karen, we're gonna start on the opposite end with Andy. And the opposite direction. So 90 seconds, Andy?
It's a good discussion. Listen, there's a lot less disagreement than I might hope for. I think I would vote for. Everyone up here today, all the process didn't have very differences around. But largely, there's a wide agreement that we want our kids to go to school, safe, nurturing, achieve their academic goals. Productive citizens. There's really so much disagreement about that. How much fun or whether people have how much fun. It's not that fun using it. Great session. That notice that high school event. Lending, making further loans over. Private schools are expensive. Other teachers want to principal can't do zero. Maybe other way to answer.
Kimberly?
I tell people if you absolutely hate kids, you should love public education because it is what drives local and city economies. Like some public schools actually thrive, really amazing economies. I want, there are board trainings, you've been on a board, I'm going a really good board, you take lots of board training, you get board certified, I've done that. It's a really important job. I've managed really big budgets. I've done it for almost 15 years, so I've made a lot of mistakes and I've had a lot of successes. So everything I've talked about is not great ideas, it's things I've learned and done in my career. I wouldn't do this if I didn't know I could, because I have. Because it's my kids, it's my neighbor's kids, it's my friend's kids, it's my city's kids. I am asking you to vote for me for a job. Because as a woman, I am kind of qualified to apply for this job. And you get the opportunity to vote for it. The same way you would look at a child and say, when you apply for that job, I hope you get the opportunity because you did the work and you are qualified for it. I have the real lived experiences for this job and the passion to be accountable for you every single day because I walk and live in this neighborhood with my children. Thank you, and I hope to earn your vote.
Thank you very much. Carmen?
Thank you. In 23 years, I made some really tough decisions. Knowing that at the forefront of all of my decisions, the question was, and how will the children respond? And it's in the best interest of students. As I said earlier, I entered this race because school issues are personal to me. School issues drive and change communities and neighborhoods. Schools change and transform our young people. I am running strictly as an educator before you, who has children and who has lived experiences and who has the depth of knowledge about education policy to make changes. I am truly independent. I make my own decisions for what's best for me, and I'm very proud of that. I am honored that I was able to spend this time with everybody on this stage. I will continue to go and talk to every parent and to every student out there because nobody is running my campaign. I am in nobody's pocket, and I am honored by that.
Thank you. Thomas?
I have had several titles in my life that I take great pride in. I have called myself father, husband, soldier. I am so deeply honored to carry a title that all of you share as well, and that is the title of Chicago. Everyone in this room carries on a legacy dating back to the Sabres into the current day, and recognize that we as a city have confronted so many urgent challenges through the Great Fire, through the closing of Wisconsin Steel 40 years ago that marked the beginning of the end of our steel manufacturing economy. We are at a similar point of crisis right now. We are confronting near $1 billion deficits, or will soon, both with the city and with the Chicago public school system. The people in the record of governance of this city is unworthy of the legacy that we carry. We have a woman who wants to go abolish the Chicago police force, closely advising the city of Chicago. We have a floor leader of the Chicago City Council that rallied in front of a burned American flag in front of City Hall. This is unacceptable. Know that the swing voters in Michigan and Wisconsin are looking at us and observing, do we want that to be a model for national governance? No, we don't. It's not Kamala Harris's America, and it's not mine, and we can show our progressive government.
Thank you, Tom.
I'm really proud of the grassroots campaign that I have run. I got into this with my eyes wide open. I knew that it was going to be a political race. You're electing us. There was no doubt about it. It was going to take raising money to get my name out there. It's a huge the center district. They run from Old Town to Uptown. So I understood when I got into it exactly what I was getting into. I have the head, and I have the heart, and I have the experience to be in the Board of Education. I want to marry my experience with my passion, with my empathy, and that's what makes me an excellent candidate. I want to be on your representative on that board as not the CPA candidate and not the mayor's candidate, but the independent candidate that will bring the voice of my constituents to the board. You know, the nice thing about being elected rather than appointed is I answer to you. I'll be available to you. I'm excited about answering to the district board, and I'm excited to voice the concerns of this district on the Board of Education. I spent my whole entire adult life in Chicago Public Schools. I have a diverse career, 30 years. I know the people in CPS. I know the departments in CPS. I'm ready to do the work on day one. I know the acronyms in Chicago Public Schools. When Ann Williams and Rob Margaret wrote this law, they said I had someone like everyone who's in mind. I'm really excited about this.
Thank you. Karen?
So I want to come back to this word independent because and only those are not independent. And we talked a little bit about that. It includes a social worker, a counselor, a nurse, a librarian, a school. It includes and hospital staff. It includes all classes. It includes schools are free of lead, mold, aspects. And it includes public or public schools and the neighborhood schools, get the resources and things back. So yes, I support that. Agenda. We can take a closer look at the plan. The school project. They're making those investments because it's a business opportunity, not because they put. Well, 30,000 people that we care about the public school children, and they support me.
Thank you very much.
And that concludes our candidates forum for District 4 elected school board. First, I want to thank the engineering staff here at Lincoln Park High School because at the last second, they put everything together and we're wonderful hosts tonight. I want to thank you, the audience, for being wonderful community members, active listeners, and wanting to be informed voters as we move forward. Election day is on November 5th. It's less than 2 weeks away. Early voting opportunities are open throughout the city. And then I want to give a thanks to the candidates. Having been in your seat, this is not easy, folks, to be up here without notes, under spotlight, in front of people, getting your answers in 90 seconds or 15 seconds. It takes commitment, courage, and a heck of a lot of passion. So I thank you for answering the call to service our community, and we wish you luck in the next 2 weeks. And with that, audience, I hope you'll join me in thanking all of you.
Okay.